O'Neill and the special guest host, Attorney Jerome Payne. Live TV talk on your digital device, on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Download the SVP TV app right now. Check us out every Tuesday on Comcast Cable, Channel 17, 8:30 p.m. And we are live every Friday on Facebook Live, 6 o'clock in the evening. You've got a question, our attorneys have the answer. So let's talk law with Attorney Daryl O'Neill.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Got to give our shout outs to California, shout outs to Little Rock, Arkansas, shout outs to West Memphis, Arkansas, shout out to Memphis, Shelby County, shout out to Mississippi, shout out to great state of Missouri, shout out to my family. And I don't know if we struggle as much as we have a disagreeable philosophy on the two issues.
Oh, I like that, I like
you know,
that.
I strongly believe in chapter 7.
Right.
Not so much chapter 13.
Okay.
I understand that, you know, chapter 13, you know, because there are a lot of good people in the world. And what chapter 13 does is gives you a chance to be not a bad, you're a bad
There
person.
you go again.
You're not a bad, you're a bad
There
person.
you go again.
You know, that
you don't want to pay him back.
You know, that
you don't want to pay him back.
You don't know what I'm saying.
You don't have the ability.
You don't know what I'm saying.
You don't have the ability
Well,
to pay it back.
Well,
to pay it back.
ability. Yeah. I like that.
Ability.
I like that.
Words mean a lot.
Yeah.
Ownership of my mistake.
Yeah.
I'm coming to the man in the mirror. You know, we talk about that. I'm coming to the man in the mirror. You know, we talk about that all the time because he or she is the one who got you in the position. He or she is the one who got you in the position.
Right.
And so a lot of times people do try and blame. Creditors always have the advantage over people of limited means.
Right.
Because the way that our particular statute is set up is that a creditor can collect on a debt for 20 years or more. Initially, the first 10 years can expire, but right before it expires, they can ask for an extension of another 10 years.
Right.
So there's really no downside for a creditor, is it?
No, that's like a prison sentence, man. You're doing life, man, to the credit card company.
That's exactly right.
But,
and they might show up at the funeral.
No, not they might. They will. Because
a chapter 11, a chapter 12, a chapter 13, and a chapter 9. A chapter 9 is what protects cities and municipalities. So sometimes, and we've seen several of cities on the brink of possibly.
No, we've seen some of them do it.
Well, I didn't want to call them.
Oh, yeah. Not possible. There have been in that base.
And that's usually what happens is when the demographics change in a city, where some people start to flee, and it leaves the city without the tax base that they once enjoyed, and then that's when they get into financial difficulty.
I mean, so that's but
that's right.
So that protects the municipalities and governments.
That's right.
And then you said
The chapter 12 is for farmers. Farmers use that.
I forgot farmers when I said
that's
business.
okay.
When
They can't get into plant or out all that stuff, and so a person, the debt limit now is like 3.5 million, but it increased to 7.5 million and right after it was created, but it sunsetted on us, and we're waiting on Congress to increase it back to 7.5 million because some people are still locked out. That's right, businesses. That's the 11.
So if the business makes 3.5 or better,
right,
then they fall for that.
3.5 million is the limit for a sub 5. So otherwise you have to go to the real chapter 11. You don't get the break, the benefits of being in a chapter 11 if your gross income is.
And again, I don't know. Again, I don't do enough business, practice, to figure out how, because the term is called winding up.
Right.
I don't do enough to
I got you.
understand
I
the
got you.
procedures and winding up. But there is a procedure.
That's
there's
right.
a requirement.
And so the thing that really protects the person who, the entrepreneur, so to speak, is the personal guarantor. Most lenders will not lend to a person who's operating a business without you signing a personal doubt. Most people have to use the 60-month plan
So wait a minute,
because it reduces the amount of your payments.
So
over a
if
period
I
of
did
time.
it in 13 and I did it in 12 months, right? My payment would be high.
Well, you probably, yeah, your payment would be through the roof, and they probably would not let you do a 13 for 12 months. And the reason why is one of the restrictions of a Chapter 13 is that the person has to pay at least as much as they would have paid in a Chapter 7 to the unsecured creditors. Because remember, there are three types of creditors: secured, unsecured, and priority. And so that's why people who make too much money or have too many assets have to come out of the 7 into a 13, but that still threshold is still there for the trustee to come in and make sure that that person in the 13 is paying at least as much as they would have gotten in a regular Chapter 7.
Yeah, and see, Jerome, those become my issues.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
of course you already know that.
Sure.
Those become a lot of my issues.
Sure.
You know, because
Knowledge at all. In other words, we were just thrown into a pool,
Right.
working and purchasing without really understanding how those things operate
Right,
together.
right.
If I see it, I want it,
Right.
and I'll get it because I got a job.
Right.
And then if I get maybe a 5 or 10 cent raise on the job, I think that allows me to go out and purchase even more stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's not how finances work. They have no real knowledge of how interest rates work. They don't know anything about compound interest, daily interest, and so that's really not their fault. It's our professionals.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, I get- yeah.
But those who have more are required to assist those who have less.
Right.
You know, and so I mean, it doesn't cost us anything to try and assist people who have run into situations they no longer have control over. And I tell clients all the time, in court,
I'm going to the Supreme Court on
yes,
this.
yes. Sometimes your day in court is just too costly, and you may be better off doing a mediation, right, or arbitration, or even just sitting down with the opposing party. And when you see your attorney and the other attorney talking, it does not mean that your attorney is selling you out.
He was shaking hands with him.
Right.
He sold me out. I know he sold me out because he was laughing.
Right, they were
and
laughing.
smiling. You know.
Because most of us know each other. When
Not
you
only
practice
know
in
each
the-
other, some of us went to school together.
That's right.
Some of us are cousins.
That's right.
Family members. You know what I mean? Some of us were mentors and mentees.
And we know that's not happening because it's strictly forbidden by the. Once you put a name with a face and you develop a relationship,
Yeah.
sometimes you can really minimize
Yeah.
the cost of
No.
litigation. Is not free.
Man, litigation is a beat. You know, let me just tell you, man, and I tell the people all the time. I know a lot of lawyers, and I mentor a lot of lawyers, and I work with a lot of lawyers, right? And I'm really cool with a lot of them. But if you're on the other side of the table and we're in the courtroom, they're a different class of people.
Oh, no question.
They're a different class of people, you know, and it's kind of even like the medical world.
Right.
Those guys are a different class of people, you know, because the educational level, and the mentality and all that, it's just a different breed of
That's right.
And the mentality and all that, it's just a different breed of
That's right.
breed of people, you know.
Particularly when I was doing personal injury, people have unreasonable expectations, and then when you don't rise to those, then they're disappointed. So I
And they-
always
and
try to
let me
let them
just tell
know
you-
up front where we are with that.
Commercials is the worst thing in the world because
Oh.
everybody in personal injury cases,
Salad. We're gonna mix it, dish it, and dash it, and try to come out with the best result that we can.
yeah, I mean, you know, and bottom line here though, look, and this is what
We can.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and bottom line here though, look, and this is where we really are in this is, you know, the law puts in. Thank you for watching the show. We'll bring you another show.